Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live video. So in this one, I wanted to talk about the final episode of The Ones Who Live because we actually got the title now. And I want to talk about what it means because everyone's freaking out about the title. They think it means that it's the end. The thing is, it could mean that it's the end, but there's a lot to break down and just sort of get into with this title here. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. And if you're interested in supporting the channel here, the join button is down below. Thank you so much for all your support. But yeah, let's get into this here. So we learned the other day that The Ones Who Live is going to be, or that the finale's episode is titled The Last Time. So we have all the official episode titles now. The episode titles go in this order. So episode 1 is Years, episode 2, Gone, episode 3, Bye, episode 4, What We, episode 5, Become, and episode 6, The Last Time. So overall, that says Years Gone By, What We Become, The Last Time. So we know what Years Gone By is. It's a reference to Days Gone By. What We Become, that's a reference to Michonne's final episode. And then The Last Time, that's not... I mean, obviously, it's going to refer to something that has been said in the past, right? Like, these are all references to something. So the last time is going to be a reference to something that happened at some point in the past. And I'm not entirely sure what that really is. But my thing is, you know, this being called the last time, I don't think this means it's the end because it's never, ever been that obvious. Like, it's never, ever been that obvious. I don't think this means, oh, Rick's dead. Like, this is the end of Rick Grimes kind of thing. Or I don't think this means, oh, this is the last time Rick and Michonne are going to be together because one of them's going to die. I don't think it means anything like that. I just think that it's going to be something very, very like, okay, that makes sense. Or like maybe Major General Beal says something like, this is the last time you're going to try and do this, Rick, right? Or like the last time this happened, this thing happened kind of thing, right? Like it's going to be something very like that, you know? And obviously having this title for the finale is also fitting because the finale of the season. So to me, it makes a lot of sense based off of a lot of the comments here in the post that I made. A lot of people are kind of like, I mean, kind of freaking out about it, but there's a lot of people are saying that like they wouldn't spoil something like this in the title. And, you know, like there's a lot more to a lot of this stuff here with Rick and Michonne. And a common one I've been seeing is the last time they'll be apart, which to me, like, I don't know, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, just like overall, I don't think the title means a lot in terms of like a death or something crazy like that. I know people are really like freaking out about it, but I just don't think it means any of that. If anything, I'm honestly kind of viewing this as like, you know, the last time this happened. Like that's, I feel like the you know, the idea that I have is like the last time this happened. And I think that Rick could be maybe in a position here where something's about to happen. And maybe it's like, you know, it could result in his death or something like that. But the last time, it's a reference to that. It's like the last time Rick did this happened. So we're not going to do this again. It's not going to be spoilery. Like we've seen so many titles like this in the past where it's like, oh, what does this mean? The finale title for something will just hint at something crazy like this. And everyone freaks out about it. But then we watch it and it's never really that, right? So they wouldn't spoil something like this. Obviously, the one thing that it could mean is this the last time we're going to see Rick and Michonne? I also don't think it's going to mean that. That is something so crazy to put in the title, especially because people are expecting there to be reunions with Rick and Michonne, right? Or not with Rick and Michonne, but with like Rick and Daryl and whatnot, right? Like that is something that people want. And maybe there's no season 2 or anything, but we would see those characters at some point in the future, right? So there's no way that this is like the last time we're seeing them. So I don't think it's a reference to that because also on top of it, again, that's a big spoiler, right? So I don't know what the title is going to mean overall in the end. We'll find out obviously by the finale, but people are really kind of freaking out about it because it is a very interesting title. It's just like, I feel like that's sort of the intention to it too. You know, like they are literally like this title is meant to make people kind of freak out about just what's happening, right? Like what's going on. And, you know, going into this episode, you're going to see that it's called the last time. And what does that mean, right? So everyone is going to be freaking out about it. And I do think that it is really there. It's just something for dramatic purposes, in my opinion. That's just kind of what it feels like, is that it is something for dramatic purposes, and I don't think it really means anything more than that. I think if it was more than that, then yeah, that would just be, I mean, really not normal, because they normally don't do things like that. Like they normally just kind of, they don't spoil stuff. Like they never ever spoil stuff. The titles are never like they'll hint at things, but it's usually, again, it's really never spoilery. So to me, it's going to mean something like this is the last time we're going to do this, the last time of something, right? Not the last time we're going to see Rick and Michonne or the last time we're going to see them together. I don't think it means a death or anything like that. I really think both characters are going to survive. I was actually thinking I do have a Michonne death theory video that I really wanted to get to. I don't think she's gonna die though, so that's kind of why I don't really want to do the video, because I'm like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But there's some interesting dialogue said in the premiere that I'm like, I'm wondering if Rick will be in a place like that. But again, I don't think she's gonna die. I really I'm like so 100% sure on that. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if I want to do it, because the idea would be interesting. It's a really good idea to debate, I guess. But do I believe she's actually gonna die? No. And I honestly 100% believe that Michonne will survive, at least the first season. I think Rick and Michonne will survive the entire series. If this show is 1 season or 2 seasons or 30 seasons, obviously it won't be 30 seasons, Rick and Michonne will survive until the very, very end. It's just that final episode as to whether or not one of them will die, right? But anyways, I wanted to get into some questions here because I know that, I missed some of these questions here, so I do want to get into some of this stuff here and add it to the end. I still will be doing another Q&A video on some of the other questions and whatnot, but that will be out tomorrow. So yeah, anyways, let's get into the first question here. Q&A, why don't you do reaction videos? It would do more views and introduce more people to your content. It would reach more people because some people like me search The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, or The Ones Who Live reactions on YouTube, and others watch the show through reactions because they can't get a hold of VPN or AMC because it's not available in their country. I mean, that's a good question. To be honest, that's kind of why I started to react a little bit more on Twitch. I don't know, there's something about reactions that I'm not against. I love watching reactions, and I people who do reactions just incredible, honestly. I love watching reactions, but for myself to do it, it's just, I don't know, I never really did reactions like that. I just never really started to do it. So I just think that I'm not really against the idea, I guess. It was just never really a thing. I always just kind of, instead of reacting, I'm just going to put my thoughts together in a review and break down the episode and sort of, put all my energy or whatever, into something just entirely like that. Just focus on those things like that. But I'm not against doing reaction videos, I guess. But again, I'm kind of doing that on Twitch now, where I sort of react to react to the episode for the first time on Twitch. So if you do want to follow me there, I do that as well on Twitch every single Sunday, usually in the mornings. But yeah, anyways, Q&A. Do you think that the Walking Dead crossover series will end the franchise for good, or could they still do a Walking Dead 2.0 with adult Judith and RJ and or other legacy characters? I love all your videos. Thank you so much. Well, yeah, it's going to end this era. To me, The Walking Dead's never going to end. It's just one of those things that in 30 years, it will still keep going on. Because, this is the first franchise in terms of, the zombie genre that is actually, a really big franchise. I know Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, all of that stuff. I know that is a really... I know that. But that was in movies, and it wasn't a lot. It wasn't like The Walking Dead, where it has this whole universe built out, right? It's called The Walking Dead universe now. So it's very, very different. And they built out an entire world. And it's so, there's so much to it. There's a lot in this world that I'm like, there's no way that, and that's the most interesting thing about a lot of this here is people are interested in seeing this whole grand, big Walking Dead universe and just sort of this endgame the But the question I see a lot is well, is The Walking Dead big enough to get into something like that? Could they actually do that? And so obviously that's the thing. That's where the ratings are starting to come into play. Can we actually get to a point like that? And I think that was always the issue with The Walking Dead, is that it was hard to get to something like that because it was just, I don't know, it costs a lot of money to do things like that, right? And so they're doing an amazing job right now. Obviously, we saw the premiere of The Ones Who Live. That looked like a movie, basically, right? So I think that they will build with something like that. And then I think that will be the end of a certain era. And then the next era is going to be something different, right? It will focus on Judith and RJ, and it's going to focus on the other characters, and then we'll see them grow up and whatnot. And that's going to be more for the hardcore fans. And then at that point, there will be a new generation that will discover it and watch it, right? And then they might go back and watch everything else. That's just sort of how it goes, right? People are going to fall off and stop watching for a while. and then maybe 10, 20 years later, they start watching it again. Like, that's just kind of how things go, right? Q&A, how do you think Jadis knew about the CRM before she joined? That I really don't know. I hope they get into that here, and I hope they don't just kill her off and, like, never get into anything like that. That'd be kind of sad. Because a Jadis backstory would be really cool. There's a lot about the character I want to know more about. So, yeah, I don't know. But that honestly, I think they should get into that. Q&A, do you think we will see Lieutenant Elizabeth in The Ones Who Live? So Elizabeth Kublik, oh man, I would love to see her in the show. I'm going to say no. Because I feel like, I don't know. It makes sense to see her, but I just feel like they're not going to go there. And I feel like we would have seen something online in terms of her return. So I'm just going to say, as of now, I'm going to say no, we're not going to see Elizabeth Kublik in The Ones Who Live. Q&A, do you think we are going to see Major General Beal again? Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're going to see him probably. I don't think we're going to see him in episode 2, just because I think it's going to be focused more on Michonne. Episode 3, though, I can see for sure. So my guess is episode 3 is the next time we'll see him. Q&A, do you think there's a possibility of Thorne telling Major General Beal about what Okafor and his plans were, and that is why Beal asked Rick about it? That is a very interesting idea. Like, that is actually a very interesting idea. If Pearl Thorne went to Beal about everything, I don't know how Beal would feel about that, if he'd actually be really upset with Pearl Thorne. Obviously, that shows that Pearl Thorne is obviously, you know, like, I guess, loyal to the CRM and to Beal, but it also shows that she's not that loyal of a person, that she really does sort of serve herself, right? And in that situation, you know, that would make her not really that trustworthy, because if something else came along that meant, you know, she could benefit from that, she would go tell that person all their secrets, right? So I don't know if that's good overall. And I don't know. I really just think that Beal is just, he's that smart of a person. He's just sort of suspecting something because it makes no sense that he's keeping Rick around. I think that's the thing about it, is like everything's going really good, but he's like, why is Okafor keeping Rick and Pearl around? Like, they shouldn't even be alive right now. So what's going on there? Is he planning something? And so I think that's where his suspicions are overall. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to leave it here, though. There's a lot more questions here, and I don't want to get into all this. I'll save it for an actual Q&A video, so that will be coming tomorrow. So yeah, thank you guys so much for all of your questions. Post your thoughts down below on what you think the last episode title means. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.